son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tags in it, and splinters, and boards torn up, and places with no carpet on the floor. There. But all the time has been a climbing on, and rich in landings, and turning corners, and sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. I cannot think of a better way to begin my final speech than with an excerpt from the poem A Mother to Son by Langston Hughes. My life has not been the most perfect of lives, as I would imagine all lives are. Or is anyone here who can say they've had a perfect life? I've had to run for my life in the middle of the night when being chased by my own blood brother with a machete. Every day, I wake up expecting news of my mom's passing, who has been sick for many years. And of course, I still struggle to get second dates on this campus. So my life has been very imperfect. But through it all, I have these colorful pens and these journals to get me through these hard times. I think of them as my service animals. They allow me to describe, to reflect, and to draw. Describe. Now, to be able to tackle any problem, you have to understand it. So in these journals, with these pens, I describe all the experiences I go through, the positive ones and the bad ones. The reason why I keep track of all the positive experiences is to enable me to go back to them during tough times and remember that life is not all that bad. And then the bad experiences, I keep them so that I describe them so I can be able to learn from them and grow from them. Here's an example of an entry in my journal where I was describing something. It was a trip from Johannesburg to New York. I took this past December. In this entry, I described the people I met, the food I ate, the wine I drank, and the movies I watched. I also keep my luggage tags because I like to collect things. Now, once I'm done describing, comes the reflection. There are different ways through which I do this reflection. One is through what other people write in these journals. Yes, you heard right. I'm not the only author of these journals. I also ask other people to write in them. And I have been told that when people refuse, I look visibly upset. So when I ask you to sign, please do sign. Here's an example of other people signing in my journal. One advantage of learning from other, or at least having other people write in it, is it enables me to see the world through different eyes. It enables me to see the same experience from another person's perspective. It also helps me see how other people perceive me and helps me in my journey of growth. This here is an example of what my friends wrote at the end of a study abroad experience in Sri Lanka that I was a part of. The second type of reflection I do is at the end of every day, I write out what stood out from that day in a sentence or two. And ultimately, it becomes this beautiful art piece. But the key thing, or the important thing about this is it reminds me that even though days don't come alike, some days are sunny and others are rainy, that life is still good. And you can still find one good thing from every single day. And the other type of reflection takes time. So here's an example. Last quarter, I took a class on sexual assault, and one of the themes that we discussed was toxic masculinity. So I had to ask myself, do I suffer from toxic masculinity? So I dedicated this page in my journal to reflect on that. It's still empty, because it's a long and ongoing process. And I hope that someday I'll finally be able to finish reflecting on that and become a better person. But what happens when I don't have the words to describe or to reflect? I draw. Now, seeing me with these journals and seeing all the creative artworks I've created, one might think that I've done this for a long time. I have not. I grew up in a family where things like the arts were not considered worthwhile. So as a result, I wasn't creative growing up. But one time I had a child draw in my journal. And I realized that children don't care what people will think of their artwork. They just do it. They just express themselves. And sometimes they're not even trying to say anything. They're just creating. And I wondered, how come we cannot do that? Why shouldn't we? So I decided I was going to try it. And these are examples of the different artworks I've created. I don't like to call them artworks, but they are examples of different artworks I've created. Now, this one over here, it's right here in front of me now, is a piece that I created last spring. Now, I was in love with a girl on this campus, and I filled this entire journal with words about the different ways that she made me feel, the different times that we hung out. It was great. But then other times I didn't have the words because I was just too happy. And I made this piece, which I call The Sound of Happiness. And even though in the end it didn't work out, I was sad, but I was grateful that she gave me this. These journals enable me to deal with painful experiences in a way that I wasn't able to before. Through being able to describe, to reflect on these things, and sometimes to draw, enables me to be a happier person in general. And I can honestly say I'm happy. My life is imperfect. I still have finals. I'm stressed about that. But I am happy. So boy, don't you turn back. Don't you sit down on the stairs, because you find it's kind of hard. Don't you fall now, for I still going, honey. I still climbing. And life for me ain't been no perfect stair. So my last words to you is, in whatever imperfection you have in your life, find ways to deal with it. And remember, these things take time, so it's fine. Thank you.